personally, I'm not like a spooky ooky bitch. Like, I don't really care for ghosts. I don't want to ruin it. Actually, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna ruin it because you shouldn't read it anyways. But thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me. Yeah. Greetings and salutations, my dearest friends. My name is Samantha, and today I'm going to be doing a video where I read a novella every single day for an entire month. I've done this type of video before, but the theme for all of these novellas are going to be spooky, Halloween, paranormal romances because I am so excited for the fall season. Hello, how are you? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be filming today's video. It's going to be a fun one, but it's also going to be a long one because I am going to be reading one Halloween themed, paranormal themed novella every single day for an entire month. I am hoping to post this on the 1st of October, just kind of like starting off spooky season, kicking it off in a nice fun way, but I have to film the month prior. Every day for 30 days I will be reading a new novella and chatting with you guys about it. I have done this video concept before. I will leave them linked down below if you want to see the previous installments of this little series. I always love filming videos like this because I am a true mood reader. My taste in books varies from day to day, and I love that I can pick up a novella and read it in one sitting. I love novellas just as much as full-length novels, and I'm honestly a little picky sometimes. I expect a novella to give me everything a full-length novel is giving me, just wrapped up in a cute little package. I want a fully fleshed out romance, I want the steam, and I want a satisfying ending. Nothing that ends on a cliffhanger or leads into a full-length novel, okay? I want a novella that's complete and perfect. I've read a lot of novellas and I know that it is possible to achieve all of those things. What's really fun is the last time I filmed this video, I ended up finding one of my favorite authors of all times, and that was Marina Vivancos. I ended up picking up one of her novellas because of that video, and then I binged her entire backlist and found my new favorite author. So fingers crossed we will find some brand new authors to love. Basically, the theme of this video is spooky season. I'm going to pick up anything that gives fall, spooky ooky, paranormal vibes. I'm totally open to reading different genres like horror, romance, cozy mysteries, etc, etc. I'll try to mix it up a little bit. I do plan on trying to read as much new authors as possible, but there may be some days where I pick a book from one of my favorite novella authors. This is going to be a very, very long video, so buckle up, grab your popcorn, grab your little fizzy, fun, cute fall drink, and join me. I usually film these almost as casual vlogs rather than me sitting down one day and talking for hours about all of the novellas I read. I will actually be updating you sometimes daily, sometimes every other day, just wrapping up what I read that day or that week. And then towards the end of the video, I will wrap it all up, give you guys my stats, tell you about my favorites, and of course I will have graphics on my Instagram to break it down even further. Just for reference on my reading taste and some of my favorite authors who write novellas, I really love Marina Vivancos. Like I said, she writes these very angsty, emotional queer romances on Kindle Unlimited. Some of my favorites would be Divine River, which is a friends to lovers small town romance, and Crybaby, which is another friends to lovers romance that is so freaking sweet. I also really love Casey Mint. She writes so many novellas, and I have read most of her backlist, but not all of it. What I really love about her is she will pick like a specific trope or theme and write a bunch of novellas surrounding that. One of my favorites is her Big Boy series, and it features a bunch of plus-size heroes. Of course, I love Miss Jessica Cain. Oh my god, I love Jessica Cain. I wish she was still writing novellas. My favorite of hers is Hefty, which is a friends to lovers romance, and then Making Their Vows, which is a boxing romance that is so angsty. I love Miss Jessica Cain, and I really am so sad she doesn't write novellas anymore. Other authors that I really love, and you'll probably see me read more of, are Risley Adams, Daniel Allen, Katrina Jackson, and just a bunch more. I have a whole novella playlist that I will leave down below if you want more recommendations. I just kind of want to give you an overview of some of my favorite authors and some of my favorite novellas. The intro is getting really long and the video is going to be long, so I'll end it here. This is kind of just the concept of what we're doing, and I will see you tomorrow for the first novella that we're going to be reading. Hi, hello. I'm here to talk about the first two novellas that I read for this video, so day 1 and day 2. Please ignore my hair. It has no product in it and just kind of like awkwardly air dried because I'm getting a haircut today, so just ignore the hair, please. Anyways, I'm going to wrap up the first two novellas that I read for this video. We didn't get off on the best start because the first book I'm going to talk about, I ended up giving 2 stars. kind of disappointing, but you know what? We're just gonna roll with it. I did like the second novella I read, so let's go ahead and talk about it. So the first novella that I picked up is called A Breath of Fresh Air by Allegra Hall. Right off the bat, I did not enjoy this novella. I gave it 2 stars. I would like to preface all of this by saying I was under the impression that this was a novella that could be read as a standalone. It is how the author marketed it in their synopsis and their author's note, and it was something that was recommended to me on Kindle Unlimited, and I didn't see it attached to any other series. So that is why I ended up picking up this book. I thought it could be read as a standalone, and boy oh boy was I sorely mistaken. I'll start off with the positives. Love the cover. I think this is a stunning, gorgeous cover, and I also do love the concept of the novella. I just didn't really vibe with the writing style. This novella is a werewolf shifter romance with a heroine who is finding love later in life, which I did really like reading about an older heroine. I think our heroine is like in her 50s, like mid 50s, late 50s. That was like the only thing that I did like about this book. At the start of the book, she's going to her daughter's wedding. She is human, but her daughter is part fae because of her father, and then she is marrying into a werewolf shifter family. So she goes to the wedding and she ends up meeting a werewolf shifter at this wedding, and they feel like an immediate connection to one another. After they meet at the wedding, they cannot stop thinking about each other, and it follows their very low angst, cozy romance. There's not a lot of external conflict, which is kind of to be expected for a novella. The reason I didn't like this book is, one, the writing style just felt very, very strange to me. There was a lot of time jumps that didn't make sense, and for it being a novella, it was less than 100 pages. Our characters actually spent so much time apart. Like, there were very few scenes with them together, and I just didn't find their romance believable, if that makes sense. What I really didn't like about this novella is it is totally connected to another series. Now, when I read a novella, I want it to be a standalone, I want it to be complete, and I don't want to feel like I'm missing information or that it should have been a full-length novel, and that's kind of how this novella left me feeling. It is connected to another one of her books called A Wolf in the Garden, which again has a gorgeous, stunning cover. I read the synopsis of this one. It's a second chance romance, and it is the romance that her daughter had. So that storyline was mentioned so heavily in this novella that it almost overtook the actual characters in the romance that was supposed to happen. Be negative anymore. I didn't like that novella. I probably won't read more books from this author, even her full-length novels, just because I didn't like her writing style. It felt very clunky. Anyways, moving on. Because that was a little bit of a disappointment, I decided to pick up a novella from an author that I have read from and loved already. I decided to pick up 5-Star Review by Marie Renard. Now, Marie Renard is a new-ish author to me. She only has 2 books published on Kindle Unlimited right now. They're both paranormal romances, but I loved them. Like, really, really liked them. The books that I read by her, the first one is called Mate Hub Legend, and that is a romance between a shifter, a werewolf, and a human. And then the second one is called Accidental Bonds, and that is a fantasy romance between a werewolf shifter and a mage. They're both full-length novels, but I thought they were really well written and very unique male-male paranormal romances. You guys should check them out. But anyways, we're talking about novellas here. So when I saw that she came out with a novella, I was super excited. This one is called 5-Star Review, and it is a friends to lovers male-male romance. One of our heroes, Aiden, is a shifter, and he is hopelessly in love with his best friend, his college roommate. He's had a crush on his best friend for years, but never really did anything about it because his best friend is human and not supposed to know about the paranormal world. Other hero, Zane, has quite an interesting job. He reviews sexy toys online. One day he gets exposed to the paranormal universe when one of his fans actually sends him a sexy toy that is modeled after a shifter's anatomy, if you will. When Aiden finds out about this, he's incredibly nervous on how his friend is going to react to him being a shifter, as well as how he's going to react to the paranormal community, but it ends up following their friends to lovers romance. It is very, very sexy. I absolutely loved this one, and it was also very sweet because it has a mutual pining trope. Both of our characters have had a crush on each other for a really long time, and it was so cute to see them fall in love. I liked this one a lot. I gave it 4 stars. I think it was a solid novella. Despite the fact that it technically exists in the same universe as some of her other books, it could totally be read as a standalone. You don't have to read any of her other books to kind of understand what this one was. Yeah, those are the two novellas that I read. I read A Breath of Fresh Air by Allegra Hall. I gave it 2 stars. And then I read 5-star review by Marie Renard and I gave it 4 stars. Hopefully we will find a 5-star novella really soon, but I will see you in the next clip for more updates. Hello, hi, hello. There we are. I think we're on day 3. Day 3, and we already have a 5-star novella. Thank goodness. I am so happy. I was honestly super bummed that the first novella that we read I gave 2 stars, so I was like, you know what, I need to pick up some novellas by authors that I know are gonna hit. So I ended up picking up a book by Risley Adams. Risley Adams is a author that I discovered on Kindle Unlimited, and she writes one of my favorite novellas of all time. It's called Go Deep, which is a friends lovers romance that is so sweet and steamy and perfect. Like, to this day, I think it's still one of my favorite novellas of all time. So I noticed that she had a Halloween novella that I never read. It is called Boo Thang. This is a contemporary romance with a best friend's brother trope, and it has a little bit of an age gap where the heroine is older. And that's one of my favorite tropes. I love when we have an older heroine. This also does have a little bit of a friends to lovers trope in it because our characters did grow up with each other. This book follows our characters Angie and Zeke. Zeke, essentially his entire life, has been hopelessly in love with his older sister's best friend, Angie. However, he is strictly in the friend zone. He has always been seen as this like annoying younger brother until his 30th birthday. He's grown and he's sexy, and him and Angie end up sharing kind of like a steamy kiss with one another. This is the first time that Angie has really seen him as something other than her best friend's little brother, and he is wanting to shoot his shot. He has been pining after her for so long. Everything kind of comes together when Angie is getting ready to celebrate her birthday weekend in Mexico. She's supposed to go with her best friend Piper. However, due to unfortunate circumstances, her best friend cannot go with her. Her best friend feels really bad and doesn't want her to spend her birthday weekend alone, so she ends up kind of volunteering for her brother Zeke to go instead. Zeke and Angie have kind of been dancing around this attraction that they have had for one another ever since they shared a kiss on his birthday. They don't want to ruin their friendship, but they keep being drawn together, so they decide to spend this weekend to kind of like get each other out of their systems, a little friends with benefits situation. But of course real feelings get involved. It does take place during Halloween weekend because our heroine Angie is a Halloween baby, so it's a fun seasonal read. Absolutely loved this one, although actually you could read it anytime. It doesn't have to be during Halloween, but this one is so good and sexy. Our hero Zeke in this book, I loved him so much. So yeah, definitely 5 stars. I loved the characters so much. I loved the romance, the steam. It was a novella that stood on its own. I wasn't left feeling wanting more, and Risley Adams truly is one of the best novella authors out there. So if you're looking for a good one to read, this one, 5 stars, and our first 5-star of the video. Hopefully we'll have many more 5 stars to come, but I will see you guys in the next clip to update you guys on the next novella I read. Hi, hello. I am here to wrap up 2 novellas that I read. They're both by the same author and within the same series, so I'm going to talk about them both. I'm a little tired right now. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning and I've been pre-filming literally all day, hence the mess behind me, but you know, I'm here to update the people. Alright, the next 2 novellas that I read for day 4 and day 5 are Not Today Satan and Not Again Satan by, I don't know how to say this author's name. How do you say this author's name? I genuinely do not know. I'll put the book titles here so you guys can see. Now, these are paranormal Omegaverse romances. I have been in such an Omegaverse mood recently. It's quite literally all that I want to read. And in one of like my wrap-up videos, I think I asked for some Omegaverse recommendations, and everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people were saying this author. If you are not familiar with Omegaverse dynamics, I talk about Omegaverse a lot on my channel. I actually have a whole playlist, so I will leave it down below if you want to know more about Omegaverse. Essentially, just like a quick crash course, it is a kind of if shifter romances and fated mates had a baby, had a cute little sexy baby. People are born with a designation. You are either an alpha, a beta, or an omega, and depending on your designation, you have different biological needs and urges. Yeah. This is a duology. It's called the Unholy Holidays series. First book, Not Today Satan, starts off by following our heroine Eden, who is an omega and also an art student. She's been having these very vivid dreams leading up to Halloween, but she doesn't really know what they are or how to make sense of it. She ends up getting invited to a very popular Halloween party that is hosted by a frat house. It is taken place in like this haunted, not haunted, but like abandoned mansion. The reason she gets invited is because she is an art student and they want her to decorate the entire house in kind of like Halloween witchy satanic ritual decorations. Our heroine ends up finding a book that has very unique, almost ritual designs, and using that to decorate the house. And somehow, as she is drawing these symbols, she ends up accidentally summoning the devil. The actual devil himself, who is an alpha. As she is an omega, his presence makes her go into heat, and they spend some very steamy times together. She quite literally makes a deal with the devil. Follows them as they have a very steamy night on Halloween. This book was fun, and it was campy, also a little ridiculous, but in a good way, if that makes sense. There wasn't a ton of plot to it, but that's not what I was expecting when I picked up the book. I was expecting a fun, steamy novella, and that's exactly what I got. So I gave it 4 stars. I liked our heroine a lot, and it had some really great tropes, a little bit of BDSM. It also had a plus-size heroine, which was really nice. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I overall enjoyed it and would totally read more Omegaverse by this author. Then after reading that one, I immediately picked up the second one. It's called Not Again, Satan, which follows our 2 characters during Christmas. This time our heroine Eden actually ends up visiting the devil, her mate, in the underworld. This one was kind of an extension of the first book, like their happily ever after, if you would. Like, the first book was a happy for now, and then this one is their happily ever after. I really didn't feel like this second novella was necessary. You guys kind of know how I feel about novellas that leave on a cliffhanger. I like to read novellas that are complete and finished, and although this one was fun and fluffy and steamy and cute, I don't really feel like it was necessary, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was a good read, but I feel like these 2 novellas probably could have just been combined into one book. Overall, it was really fun to read about. We had a 4-star and a 3-star, and I will see you guys in my next clip to update you on more novellas that I'm reading. Hi, hello, how are you guys? I am here to talk about the next novella that I read, and it was a 4-star. I'm so excited. We're on track to some good novellas. This one is called The Waiter at Table 6 by Nikki Castle. I think this is a part of like a small novella series that Nikki Castle writes, because she does write predominantly like full-length novels. The first one that I read by her I don't even know if it was a couple months ago or if it was last year, I can't recall. Novellas are kind of centered around different meet cutes. So the first one, it takes place in an airport, like 2 characters having like a steamy interaction at the airport. And then this one, The Waiter at Table 6, follows our heroine who has recently gone through a divorce. Her husband cheated on her, and in the settlement she ends up winning their vacation home. So she goes to their beach house to kind of decide what she wants to do in her life, what the next steps are. She's also thinking of dating again, and she gets set up on a first date, but her date stands her up. Yeah, he doesn't show up. She decides that she's not gonna let it ruin her night, so she stays, has a nice steak dinner, and ends up flirting with a cute, young, sexy waiter. Waiter is a little younger than her. It is an age gap romance with the older heroine, and the 2 of them just have some fun time together. I loved this one so much. It was what I wanted that first novella I read in this video to be, because I love an age gap with an older heroine, and our hero, like, was obsessed with her, and it was so fun. The reason I'm giving it 4 stars and not 5 stars is because it did feel like there was unnecessary conflict in the book that really could have been, you know, resolved with some communication. And for it being a novella, like, we don't want to waste no pages, okay? So that's the only reason it's giving a 4-star. But Nikki Castle writes really good novellas, and I hope she continues to write more, because I think she only has 2 right now. Anyways, I gave this one 4 stars. That's my update, and I will see you guys when I have more updates. Hi, hello. I'm having a little bit of a flare-up today, so I just took a bath, and I have been kind of resting and laying in bed, but I decided to update you guys because I read 2 new novellas. I read 2 Halloween-themed novellas from Casey Mint. This is a part of her Hot and Haunted mini-series. Casey Mint is a novella author on Kindle Unlimited that I absolutely love. I actually have a video on my channel where I talk about like my top 5 favorite novellas that she's written. I'll leave that down below if you want to check it out. I've read most of her backlist, but she writes a ton. Like, she's always coming out with new novellas, and what I really love about her is that she will pick like a theme or a trope and then write a bunch of novellas kind of surrounding that trope. They can be connected or be read on their own. She also has some novellas centered around like the winter time, which is fun. So yeah, I decided to pick up her Halloween themed one. If you are someone who really loved Jessica Cain novellas, R.I.P. She no longer writes novellas. There's another author who wrote novellas on Kindle Unlimited and they were super unhinged. She no longer writes them, sadly. So if you were looking for something to like fill the Jessica Cain void, I feel like Casey Mint is a good author. Her books are unhinged and they usually have like taboo age gaps as well, but they're a little bit sweeter than a Jessica Cain novella, just for like reference. Anyways, let's talk about the two I read. So the first one I read is called Bump in the Night. This book follows our characters Penny and Arthur. Penny lives in a small town that is really well known for their paranormal activity and ghost sightings. However, she has never seen a ghost or had any paranormal activity happen to her in real life, and she is desperate for it, okay? She loves the macabre, she loves gothic horror stuff, she just really wants to see it happen in real life. So she ends up working as a maid for a hotel that is notorious for ghostly and paranormal sightings, and that is where she meets Arthur. Arthur is a very well-known author. He writes like horror and mystery and thriller, and he ends up seeing our heroine and being immediately drawn to her. He ends up kind of like inviting her to stay with him at the hotel as a guest, not just like as an employee, so that they can, you know, find some spooky shit. This one is unhinged because our characters are absolutely feral for each other. Like there was one part where the heroine was like, oh yeah, I've already picked our song for our wedding, like we're locked in. It's so funny. Absolutely obsessed with each other in a very like intense but dorky way. I liked it. I gave it 3.5 stars. Personally, I'm not like a spooky ooky bitch. Like I don't really care for ghosts, so I could have probably done without that subplot, but it was still fun. I liked it. 3.5 stars. Should I be telling you guys the page count? I don't know. This one was 56 pages. Casey Mint writes very short novellas, anywhere between like 50 to 90 pages. So quick little cute novellas. Consider a novella anything under 200 pages, so the books that I'm picking can definitely range in page count. The next one I loved even more, and that was Shiver Me Timbers. I love these titles. So this is a age gap romance between Ellie and Duncan. Duncan is actually Ellie's father's best friend, but her father passed away. Romance is slightly forbidden because of the age gap, but also because before her dad passed away, Duncan was her father's best friend. Kind of made a promise to her father to always look after Ellie, and the two of them own a small business. They have a small boat where they will take people on tours to see like different ghostly paranormal activity. Again, it takes place in the same town as the first book. So our heroine has been like hopelessly pining after him for the longest time. This one does have a mutual pining trope. Both of them are like hopelessly in love with each other, but don't really like want to ruin the dynamics they have because they work together. They've known each other for a really long time. One day they're out on sea and they're trying to scout for like new places for their tour, different like ghosts to show tourists. There may or may not be a meddlesome ghost that is trying to, you know, get them together. So it's really cute. I liked this one a lot because our hero was just like this gruff cinnamon roll, which is my favorite trope ever. And yeah, it was just a really fun age gap romance, slightly taboo, but also very, very sweet because our hero completely worshipped the ground that our heroine walked on. So I gave this one 4 stars. So we had a 3-star and a 4-star from Miss Casey Mint. I always love her novellas. They're always really fun to read. And that's it. I will see you guys in my next clip to wrap up some more novellas. Well, it's not looking good, folks. It's not looking good, my friends. I had another disappointing read, sadly. Decided to kind of switch it up and read some cozy mysteries rather than romances. I don't only want to read like romance novellas in this video. I do want to read some cozy mysteries, maybe like a horror and thriller novella. I don't know. I'm a scaredy cat, so I can't read anything too spooky-ooky. But the first cozy mystery I picked up, I hated. Like literally hated so much I gave it 1 star. It is Halloween Party Murder by Leanne Dobbs. This was not a recommendation by anyone or anything. I did not see it on Kindle Unlimited. I actually went on my library and searched like Halloween novellas just to see like what short audiobooks I could listen to while I was working. And this one popped up. It was like maybe 3 hours. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to listen to this cozy mystery and see what the vibe is giving. I've never read anything by this author, but it looked to have potential because the cover is cute, the theme was cute, it was the first book in a series. So I was like, okay, cool, awesome, great. It was terrible. Okay, this is a part of the Juniper Holiday Cozy Mystery series. Looking at the series, it seems to take place during like multiple holidays. Like there's one for Thanksgiving, Christmas, but I would never ever continue on in this series or with this author, and I would never recommend it either. I gave it 1 star, which means I genuinely hated it so much. Part of me doesn't even want to talk about the synopsis. A part of me just wants to like make it clear that this sucked. I'm gonna talk about it anyways. It follows Juniper. What kind of fucking name is that? Those are amateur sleuth Juniper Holiday. She is a little bit older. She's described as an elderly lady who has like a lot of energy, if that makes sense, and she's hosting her annual Halloween party. She's really into holidays, really into Halloween, loves to throw parties, loves to invite people and have like a good time. So everyone is always like clamoring for an invite at her house. Goes all out on the decorations and even hires people to like pretend to be dead or ghosts or like different actors to really aid to the theme. But it ends up taking a very twisted, dark turn when someone is actually found dead in one of the coffins that she had gotten for the decorations for the party. This is a paranormal cozy mystery. You at the very least know that werewolves exist in this world. She finds this lady dead. She has a lot of scratch marks on her face, so she immediately assumes that it was werewolves who did it. It's very interesting though, because this is a first in the series. However, in the book, she talks about discovering the werewolves as if you already knew that or if you already had read that. Like, I honestly thought that she was referencing another book in the series, but then I realized like, no, this is the first book in the series. There's so many times where they would say something or reference a memory or something that happened in the past as if you were already supposed to know that as a reader, which was so strange. Another thing that was so strange was this is told in multiple point of views, which is the most bizarre thing ever for a cozy mystery. Like, you're getting the point of view in Juniper, our amateur sleuth, her goddaughter, the detective on the case, some random side character that we literally never hear from again. That is the point of getting all of these point of views, because it's not like it's adding to us discovering who killed this person, okay? There's the mystery and the plot twist. No fucking way in hell anybody would have guessed it, because in a 3-hour audiobook, the supposed killer was, oh, I don't want to ruin it. Actually, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna ruin it because you shouldn't read it anyways. The supposed killer is literally not mentioned until like maybe the last 10 pages. Our amateur sleuth was not amateur sleuthing, okay? All of her leads were dead ass wrong. There was like this weird tension between like her goddaughter and the detective that was potentially a romance, but they also like treated each other horribly, and the detective was like a total asshole, but so were the characters. And that was the thing I didn't like, is like, not only do we have an unreliable narrator because it's multiple point of views, but the mystery doesn't make sense and the characters were insufferable. Juniper Holiday was the most judgmental, illogical person I've ever read about, to the point where I was like offended at some of her thought process. Whoa, I went on a huge rant. I don't even know why, because I've never read anything from this author. It was never recommended to me, so it's not like it was a highly anticipated read, but like, it was so bad. It was so bad. So I gave it 1 star, which is very rare. I don't give a lot of books 1 star, but that was like genuinely the worst cozy mystery I've ever read in my life. After that, I was determined to find at least one cozy mystery novella that I did love. So I ended up picking up a book by an author I have read from before, and that's Nancy Warren. Nancy Warren is a cozy mystery author I'm pretty familiar with. I love her Vampire Knitting Club cozy mystery series. I love her Great Witch Bake Show series. I think that's what it's called. It's like a baking cozy. So yeah, I do love her books, and I have read some of her novellas that I liked. So the one that I picked up is a part of her Vampire Knitting Club series. It's called Tangles and Treason. If you've never read the Vampire Knitting Club, it is a cozy mystery series on Kindle Limited. First book follows our heroine where her grandmother has just recently passed away, and she is going back to Oxford for the funeral, and she realizes that her grandmother left her a knitting shop. Our heroine does not know how to knit. She's quite terrible at it, so she's not even sure if she wants to keep the shop. But when she gets there, she ends up just discovering all types of secrets. Her family comes from a very long line of witches, and she has kind of hidden magic that she needs to tap into. There are vampires in the town and other paranormal creatures. It's such a cozy but fun paranormal cozy mystery. So I ended up picking up Tangles and Treason. This is the prequel to that entire series, and it's the backstory of one of the characters you meet in that series. His name is Rafe. He is a vampire in that series, and you kind of get to see his story, his backstory. Prior to Rafe being turned as a vampire, he is a soldier and kind of like detective that works for the crown. He's being sent on all of these dangerous missions by the queen to basically punish people for acts of treason. He is also like hopelessly in love with a woman in the town, but this woman has a lot of secrets surrounding her. A lot of people are accusing her of being a witch, which in these you know, Victorian Regency times is not the best thing to be accused of. One day on a mission, our hero ends up getting severely injured, and that is how he is turned into a vampire. Also follows his slight romance and just how he becomes who he is and how he ends up in Oxford and how he ends up knowing our heroine in the rest of the series. I really did like the backstory, but it really did feel like a prequel. Like there wasn't a satisfying ending. This was more backstory. So if you like the Vampire Knitting Club series, like this is a good addition, but I wouldn't recommend it on its own, which is why I'm just giving it 3 stars. Middle of the road. I like it paired with the series, but I can't rate it any higher because I wouldn't recommend this as its own. You should read the Vampire Knitting series if you like cozy mysteries. So this was like a hit and miss for cozy mysteries. We had a 1 star and a 3 star. I think cozy mystery novellas are kind of hard to get right, and it makes sense why a lot of them are paired with existing series and full-length novels, because it's hard to like craft a believable mystery in such small amount of pages, you know what I mean? So we're gonna find some though. I'm definitely optimistic, so hopefully in my next clip I will have some that I like. If not, I'll just give up and move back on to romance. Oh, I'm sorry if we're kind of doing the updates in the same places. Usually when I turn on the camera, I'm in my room and I have just like filmed a video. That's why I have makeup on. So yeah, you're either gonna be in front of my vanity or in front of one of my 3 bookcases. So let's talk about some novellas that we've read. I feel like I haven't updated you guys in a couple of days because I just didn't feel like existing. I have to think of like what I last talked about. I think it was the cozy mysteries that we read that were not good. Right, yeah, that was the last novella that we chatted about, the Halloween Party Murder. Not good. And because of that, I was determined to find an actual cozy mystery novella that I loved and would actually recommend to you guys. What I did is I went on Libby and I was kind of just looking for cozy mystery audiobooks that weren't entirely too long, and I stumbled upon Danielle Garrett. Now when I saw her name, it actually looked very familiar, and then I remembered I had read one of her Christmas novellas, one of her cozy mysteries that was like themed around Christmas, in a video like this. I was reading a novella every single day for a month, but it was Christmas themed, and I remember kind of liking that one. I think I maybe gave it 3 stars, so I was like, you know what, let me give her another shot. I'm glad I did because I ended up reading 2 of her cozy mysteries within the same series, and I had a really fun time. I read both of them in one day. These are about 5-hour audiobooks, but still less than 200 pages, so I am considering them novella length. I decided to pick up her Touch of Magic mystery series, which is a paranormal cozy mystery series. It follows our heroine, who is a witch, and she's also a wedding planner. The first book in the series is called Newlywed and Slightly Dead. Again, our heroine is a wedding planner for the supernatural. Kind of lives in a magically protected area where it's only paranormal creatures, not a lot of humans, and she works for a company that does all types of events. It's a very like prestigious company that's kind of difficult to climb the ranks, but our heroine has managed to do so. She ends up getting assigned a very high profile wedding, and it is the wedding of like a vampire king. He is basically like vampire royalty and in control of his specific clan in that area. This wedding kind of taboo is he is marrying a human. In the beginning of the book, you can definitely see our heroine is kind of navigating very tense family dynamics because the groom's family is not happy with the fact that the bride is a human. You very quickly realize that the mother-in-law and the bride do not get along whatsoever, and things become even more complicated when the mother-in-law is found dead and the bride is the main suspect. Heroine is trying to figure out what is going on and hopefully still make this wedding happen. I really liked this one. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I thought the pacing of the story was absolutely perfect because you got so much backstory. The actual mystery plotline was pretty well developed. There was a lot of side characters that were kind of intriguing as well, and for a novella, it really packed a punch, if you will. Like, it had a lot in a novella. It felt complete, which is the #1 thing I always point out when I'm reading a novella. I think this is a perfect cozy mystery to read if you are a romance reader because it absolutely has a romance in it. It's pretty heavy, actually, which was surprising. Usually you don't get that much romance in a cozy mystery, but it was still fun to read about. Yeah, I just thought it was a really good one, so I gave it 4 stars, and I immediately wanted to read the next book in the series. The next book in the series is called Couture and Curses. This one follows our heroine who is at a wedding planning like convention. It's really a place for them to network and make connections, and certain vendors are like showing off their services. Everyone's favorite thing about this event is the fashion show. There's a specific fashion designer that is super popular. Everyone loves her designs. At the end of the fashion show, the designer ends up getting into an altercation with another designer over some potential stolen designs. Our heroine de-escalates the situation as much as she can, but when she goes to visit the fashion designer to pick up a dress for one of her clients, the designer is attacked by some sort of supernatural entity. It's almost like the shadowy figure that our heroine can't really see or figure out what it is, but she ends up getting injured as well. Because she was a witness to this attack, our heroine is now being stalked. So it ends up following that mystery. And yeah, I liked this one a lot. I ended up giving it 3 stars. The mystery itself was kind of not as like fleshed out as the first book was. This one was much more character based, kind of focusing on the romance and her side characters as well. So I did like it, just not as much as the first one, but it was like a fun series to read. There's only one other book in here. It's called Wedding Bells and Deadly Spells. So I might just finish the series. We'll see if I finish that series, but we read 4 cozy mysteries back to back, so I'm ready to like switch back to romance, and I will chat with you guys in my next clip when I read some more novellas. Hello, hi, hello. I'm super tired, but we are here for an update. I did indeed finish the 3rd and final book in that cozy mystery series by Daniel Garrett that I was talking about. I figured, why not? I want to read more cozy mystery novellas in this video anyways, and I did really like the first 2 books, so had to finish the series. So the last book was Wedding Bells and Deadly Spells by Daniel Garrett. This is her Touch of Magic mystery series, and I gave this novella 3 stars. The entire series follows our amateur sleuth Anastasia. She works for a wedding company. Well, it's kind of like a party planning company, but she specializes in weddings. In this book, our heroine is planning a wedding, but for this one, the groom is found dead, and it is discovered that he was poisoned, and there are plenty of suspects within the own wedding party. Our heroine works for a company that is not the best. They have been treating her horribly this entire series, and when the murder happens, instead of supporting her, they end up kind of blaming her. So she gets fed up and ends up quitting her job and trying to figure out what she's going to do next. We'll say that this book leaned more into our heroine's journey rather than the actual mystery. It was probably like the least mystery book out of the 3, but it did make sense because it was the end of the series and it was kind of like wrapping everything up with our heroine. There was a lot of side characters. Everything ended nicely, but I gave it 3 stars because the cozy mystery aspect wasn't very strong compared to the first 2 books, but I still liked it. I definitely think that some of the side characters kind of hinted at getting their own series, so I will absolutely be interested in reading more Daniel Garrett in the future. I think her books are fun. Are they my favorite cozy mysteries ever? No, but they're definitely fun. Overall, kind of like an average 3-star rating for the whole series. Again, 3-star ratings are good for me. Have to make that very clear. I did enjoy the series, and that's it. I think because we read a cozy mystery, I'm going to try to switch it up, maybe pick up a horror or a romance, but we will see in my next clip what I end up reading. Hello, I am updating you guys from my bed. I'm editing some videos right now. It's actually the same day. I'm in the same pajamas that I was in earlier. Ignore the pimple patch right here. It's just been one of those days where it's been really difficult to get out of bed. So I haven't. Anyways, I did end up reading another novella. I only picked up a horror novella. I've been saying that I was gonna do it, but I was like putting it off because, again, I am a big scaredy cat. I'm the biggest scaredy cat to ever scaredy cat. If you know me in my personal life, you would know that I have had numerous interactions with paranormal activity, ghostly activity, and things of that nature. Whether you believe it or not, I know what I've seen and what I've been through, so I tend not to open up the floodgates of that type of activity, and you usually won't find me reading a ton of like horror or thriller books. But again, I wanted to mix it up with the authors and the genres that I was picking in this video and not only pick romances. So I ended up picking a really popular one. Sorry, I have like the Goodreads pulled up here because I was looking at some Goodreads reviews. I ended up picking up a really popular one, and it is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I listened to the audiobook for this. It was a little over 5 hours. I wanted to read this one because it is well loved. Like, a lot of my friends on Goodreads have given this 5 stars and have raved about it. It also has like 83,000 ratings with an average of almost 4 stars. So very popular, very well loved, and I know a lot of people like this author as well, so I figured it was a good one to pick up. This I would consider a gothic horror. I really liked the setting and the narrator. It kind of gave those like spooky ooky vibes, very unsettling, but almost in a cozy dark academia way, which was kind of interesting. I didn't expect that. And it is a retelling of an Edgar Allan Poe novel called The Fall of the House of Usher. I'm not at all familiar with that. I know who Edgar Allan Poe is, obviously, but I'm not that familiar with his work, unfortunately, I'm sad to say. I promise I am well read and I have read classics, but I don't know, I never really gravitated towards Edgar Allan Poe, but a lot of people's complaints, I will say, on like Goodreads is that this is a direct adaptation of that work. There's not a lot of like creative freedom that was taken, essentially as if you are rereading The Fall of the House of Usher. So I don't know if I would have enjoyed it more or less if I had read that originally, but that is like the general consensus. People either love that it's giving such strong Edgar Allan Poe vibes, or people hate that it's kind of just like a direct copy of it, but I don't know because I've never read it. I ended up giving this 4 stars. Objectively, this is not a genre or a style of writing that I find myself reaching for, but it was still engaging, and I think what it did well. This book is the first book in the Fallen Soldier series, and it follows our main character Alex Easton, who is a non-binary character and also our narrator. They end up going to this dilapidated mansion and ancestral home that one of their childhood friends lives in because they are told that their friend is dying. When they get there, they are absolutely horrified by what they see. It almost feels like the rooms they're interacting with, the people they're interacting with are literally deteriorating. It's in this remote countryside, and there's all of like this overgrowth and forest and fungi that is taking over the people and the home. All of these strange things are happening. They're talking in odd voices and sleepwalking, and they have to work with the family doctor to figure out what is going on. The writing style and the setting is very gothic, which I really did like, and I loved the narrator as well. It is a horror book, but it's also somehow kind of cozy. I don't know if it's because of the setting. The synopsis says that this is a gripping and atmospheric retelling, and I feel like that's the perfect way to describe it because it is horrifying and a little gross, but it's also kind of told in a cozy way. I liked it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I think the writing style was brilliant. It was a fun mystery. I really didn't know what was happening half the time, but I was still intrigued nonetheless. So I don't know if I'm doing this book justice by describing it because it is unique to me. For other people, they're just like, Sam, it's just an Edgar Allan Poe retelling, but it was a unique story to me since I'm not familiar with that original work. Definitely read more from this author. I know people love them, and there is a second book in this series that came out in February of this year, so we might pick it up if we have time. I don't know if we will, or I'll just check to see if my library has the audio. Maybe I can listen to it tomorrow, but yeah, that's my update. Gave it 4 stars, read a horror book, stepped outside of my, comfort zone. Probably won't pick up too many horror books in this video though because I have been having a lot of nightmares recently, not because of the books that I'm reading, just because I do tend to get night terrors quite often, so I don't want to kind of make them worse by reading a ton of horror books. But anyways, that's my update. I will chat with you guys in a little bit when I read another novella. Hi, hello. We are still in bed. I did shower and I did change. It's a whole new day, but we're just back in bed. Okay, it is one of those weeks, guys, that I've just been so anxious. Like, I don't know how to explain it. So right now we are operating at the best of our capabilities, and that's it. You're having one of those weeks where it's hard to get out of bed. It's hard to do all the things that you need to do and just like generally be an adult. I feel you. You're not alone. Trust me, I feel you. But we take it day by day, book by book, do the best we can. And I'm still continuing on with this little challenge. It really has helped me actually be productive and get out of bed and film and read and do all the things. So thank you for being here with me for all of it. To chat with you guys just for a second, but we did end up reading the second book in that T. Kingfisher series. I am realizing something, that I have found the niche of horror thriller books that I do like, which is fun and exciting. I'm not a slasher horror fiction girly. I will never be that girly, okay? But I think I do like horror books that have a gothic undertone, kind of similar to books like Vampires of El Norte, where it is a horror book and there are gory moments, but it has this gothic lyrical writing style that is engaging to read and not like completely terrifying. And then I'm also realizing I do like psychological thrillers too, kind of like The Passengers by John Mars or The One by John Mars. I've been dabbling in different genres. Obviously, romance will always be my preferred genre, but the older I get, the more I kind of want to branch out. And I've really been enjoying cozy mysteries and horror and thriller books, but I just have to find like a specific trope or niche that I like. Anyways, that was like a rant and a half. I'm feeling very chatty in this update. I already know this video is going to be like over an hour long, so we're just vibing together. Anyways, let's actually talk about the book. I read What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. This is the second book in the Sworn Soldier series. You're following our same character, Alex Easton, who is absolutely horrified at the events that happened in the previous book in Usher Manor. Alex ends up going with Miss Potter, who is the character you see in the first book, to an isolated hunting lodge that they inherited. When they get there, Alex cannot find the caretaker that they grew up with, and with this strange disappearance comes a lot of mystery and horrifying things. There are a lot of superstitions that the town has about ancient folklore and ghosts and just paranormal activity in general, so this definitely kind of blends the macabre with the supernatural. It is very horrifying. There are scenes in here that were just like gross, but I don't know, I did really like the audiobook. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I didn't love it as much as the first book. I think I was just a little bit more engaged in the first book. And yeah, this one is a lot more spooky because it's in a haunted hunting lodge, like in the forest. Very creepy. You're seeing all of these characters and their views of ghosts and supernatural activity, which again is something I am very familiar with. So your girl was a little scared. I did like it though. I think this author has the type of writing style that I like, because it is dark, but it's also kind of humorous and cozy at the same time, and that blend is what really makes me stay engaged and not be like totally terrified. I am curious, for those of you who read like a lot of horror and thriller and are very familiar with that genre, do you like the feeling of like being scared and being at the edge of your seat? Like, do you like that feeling and that's why you're reading those books? Or does it take like so much to actually get you scared, and when you read those types of books you're not even fazed? I would love to know, because I'm definitely phased and I will totally get nightmares. I mean, I still like it and I'm still reading it, so I don't know what that says about me. I do want to read more by them. I want to read A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, but I don't think that's a novella. Yeah, no, I just checked Goodreads. It's 306 pages, so that's a full-length novel that we will have to get to in another video. I really am ranting in this update. I'm so sorry. We have so many more books to talk about in this video and it's gonna be so long, so I'll stop here. I enjoyed it. We read some horror books, which was the goal, and now I'll probably pick up some romance books because I don't think I can read any more horror books right now. My makeup is like melting off my face right now. Hey there, I'm here to talk about the next novella that I read. This one was a good one, okay? I actually really liked this one. It was called Anyone But You by Jack Whitney. I read this on Kindle Unlimited. It was just recommended to me randomly on Kindle Unlimited and I liked the cover. It was giving fall vibes. This one follows our characters who are being set up on a blind date. Their 2 friends are setting them up on a date together, and all they know is like what the other person is supposed to be wearing, and that the date is going to take place at a harvest festival. Doesn't get more fall than that. There's hay rides and pumpkin patches and different carnival games. So when they end up getting there, they realize that they recognize each other because they're actually neighbors. Their friends did not know that they were neighbors. Hero is this grumpy, recluse introvert who recently went through a really bad breakup, so he's been trying to keep his distance from his sexy neighbor. And then our heroine has had a string of just really bad unsatisfying dates, if you will. Two of them end up deciding to still go on with the date, and they have some fun at this harvest festival. This book was so sexy, had a little public action going on, playing with some toys. Like, it was very, very, very sexy, but also you could tell that the characters have like a good emotional connection too. For a novella, this was everything that I wanted. It felt like a complete story. I got the emotional connection, I got the steamy bits, really loved the vibes and the setting and the tone. Just a solid novella. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. The only reason, why am I not giving it 5 stars? You know what? I take it back. It's 5 stars. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm like thinking like, what was it that I didn't like? Nothing. I literally liked everything about this novella. It was a perfect novella for me. I guess I was being picky when I first gave my rating because this really is a 5-star read. So we're bumping up the rating to 5 stars as we talk about it. Absolutely loved it. Never read anything by the author before. It was just a random pick on Kindle Unlimited. Sometimes people ask me like, how do you find new books? How do you find new authors? If you read a lot on Kindle Unlimited, it will start to realize your taste in books and create your curated algorithm. And that's what Kindle Unlimited has done for me. So I will find random authors, random books. I always go to that books you may like section on Kindle Unlimited because it's recommending me books based on like my previous books that I've read. So I usually have good luck there and can find pretty unique books and new authors that most people aren't talking about. So anyways, I really liked it. That won 5 stars. I will chat with you guys in the next clip below. We're sitting in the same spot as my last update because I always forget to charge my ring light, and my vanity lights are the only bright spot in my room. Yeah, sorry if a lot of clips are in this section. Anyways, I'm here to update you guys on the novella that I read today. I hated it. I'm gonna go right out and say I hated this novella a lot. So remember how I was yapping about like, oh, I always love books that Kindle Unlimited recommends to me, like books that you may love. I always love them. I am proven wrong that not every recommendation that the algorithm gives me is good. I saw this one and I liked the cover. It gave Halloween vibes. It literally takes place during Halloween. And I thought it would be good. I thought it'd be good. And I was sorely mistaken. It is called Trickin' is a Treat by Brienne Denay. Never read anything by this author. It has a really good rating on Goodreads. I mean, to be fair, it only has like 400 ratings and like less than 50 reviews, but it has an average 4.21 rating, and I'm just, no. I gave this one 2 stars. I thought it was terrible. It follows our heroine Elisa, who is going to a Halloween party, and before she goes to a Halloween party, she ends up taking like alcohol, drugs, I don't know, some like magical brew potion that this random lady in the back of a liquor store gives her. And essentially this lady is like, make a wish, like whatever you wish for is gonna come true. So she makes a wish. She's in a point in her life where she's just dealing with a lot of broke, terrible men that do not provide for her, don't show up for her, and her wish is basically to like find a man that will provide for her. And she ends up getting invited by her best friend to go to this Halloween party at like this sprawling mansion, and there she finds the man of her dreams. He's sexy, he's rich. That's it. Those are his 2 personalities, sexy and rich. And they have like a really fun, steamy night together during Halloween, but then it does follow them like after Halloween of him just like spoiling her, and like all of her wildest dreams are coming true. There's a small paranormal aspect to it, but I don't really understand what that was. I think the concept of this book is really to be like, be careful what you wish for, or like the grass isn't greener on the other side, or like if you have everything that you ever wished for and imagined, would you still not be happy? Because this does not end in a happily ever after, or even a happy for now. There's no happy ending really with a couple romance wise, and you're kind of like left at the end of the novella feeling like, what was the point of that? Because you're not rooting for the characters to be together because there's no happy ending really. But then you don't understand like what the heroine is wanting out of life and from her wishes. It was weird. It was weird. Didn't like it. I gave it 2 stars. The only reason I didn't give it 1 star is because it was sexy, and I mean it was like 50 pages. It wasn't like a terrible read. There wasn't anything like super problematic about it. I wouldn't read anything else by this author. I'm so sorry. You know, I've had some 4 and 5 stars in this video already that in comparison, this like does not even come close. Does not even come close. Really didn't understand the concept. Don't understand why there wasn't a happily ever after. Like, was this even a romance? Was it? I don't think so. Anyways, that's my rating. I was really, really harsh on that one. I'm so sorry. Nobody forced me to read that. Okay, I chose it on my own. I was way too harsh. It was negative, and I hate that. So hopefully our next couple reads will be good, and I will see you guys in my next clips. Hi, hello. I have 2 more novellas to wrap up for you today. I read a paranormal novella and then a Omegaverse novella. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. The first novella I picked up is called Little Sip of Sin by Cleo Evans. This is the second book in the Creature Cafe series. The first book in the series is called Little Slice of Hell, but you can absolutely read them out of order. There are dozens of installments in this little series. Essentially, it is a paranormal romance novella series that Cleo Evans writes. It surrounds around a coffee shop where there is a barista who is exceptionally well at matchmaking. He has the uncanny ability of matching people with their soulmates. You can tell what kind of person you are just by your drinks and your vibe, and he sets people up on blind dates, and all of the novellas follow like different pairings. This one I was really intrigued by, Little Sip of Sin, because it was a poly romance, which you guys know that I love. 2 guys, 1 girl. It is a romance between our 2 heroes who are dragon shifters, and then our heroine who is human. The 3 of them are actually fated mates, and this also happens to be an Omegaverse. One of our dragon shifter heroes is an alpha, and the other 2 are Omegas. They end up getting set up on a blind date and spending a weekend in the cabin together to test out their chemistry. Spoiler alert, they have a lot of chemistry. This one also has a little bit of a suspense element to it because our heroine is actually being stalked by an alpha werewolf. She has some trouble in her past that she's running away from, but our 2 heroes are more than willing to protect her. I didn't like this one. Did not like it. I'm just gonna say it right now. I ended up giving it 2 stars. I don't think I like this series, which kind of sucks because I do like Cleo Evans, and I've read other books by them that I've liked, like Monster Pucker. That one was a fun one. What's another one that I like? Not So Kind Regards. That's another series she writes that I thought was good. I have read her books and have liked them, but this specific series, I just don't think it's for me. It is pure monster smut, which is totally fine and valid and fun, and like not at all knocking that, because sometimes I do like to read that. To me, it just doesn't hit because the sexy scenes are kind of cringe. Just a little cringe. Like some of the scenes and the ways our characters are together, I'm just like, it's not getting me hot and bothered. It's not tickling my fancy. It's, you know, not my vibe personally. There's no true emotional connection between our characters. It's very much insta-lust, but you're supposed to believe like they're hopelessly in love with each other and these fated mates and have like this soul bond, and I'm not buying it. It's very much giving like, oh, this is gonna sound so bad, it's very much giving like 12-year-old writing smut on Wattpad for like the very first time, and like what they think it's supposed to be like. Oh, that sounds awful. Especially because I do like Cleo Evans, so I didn't like it. I gave it 2 stars, and we're just gonna move on from that. It's funny because a lot of people love this series, like love it so much, and I feel like it's an Ice Planet Barbarian situation where everybody else absolutely adores it, and it just doesn't make any sense to me personally. The next one I did really like. I gave it 4 stars, and it was Wildcard by Jillian West. Jillian West is an author I'm very familiar with. In fact, I've read the majority of her backlist, and I eat her books up like candy, okay? She writes predominantly on Kindle Unlimited. She writes a lot of paranormal and Omegaverse Why Choose romances, and I just love them so much. She came out with a winter novella. It's called Wildcard. Kind of a part of her Assurance Security series. It does follow a side character that you meet in that series, but like very briefly, and you could totally read this on its own. The Assurance Security series follows a company that does professional security to help Omegas, because in this universe Omegas have been taken advantage of. The series has that bodyguard trope and also follows like different mafia romances. So Wildcard follows our heroine Lennox. Her and her sister had gotten involved with some pretty dangerous men in the mafia, key witnesses to catch a lot of the key players in this organized crime trafficking ring. During that time, our heroine actually fell in love with someone that she thought was was in the mafia, but he actually turned out to be an undercover agent. She's pretty heartbroken because she thought like everything that she knew about him was a lie. He also ended up disappearing because of the case. Lennox is kind of in a place in her life where she doesn't know where to go. Her sister recently found her own pack and she's just feeling very alone. She's supposed to go to the Omega Center to find her own pack, but instead she ends up booking a weekend at a cabin in a very small town. There she ends up meeting twin brothers who work at the hotel and the bar that she is staying at, and she instantly has a connection with them. But of course the guy that she had previously fallen in love with, the undercover agent, ends up finding her as well, so it follows their poly romance. 3 guys, 1 girl. Well, it's not poly, it's why choose, because they're really only like in a relationship with her. They're not in a relationship with each other. Love it. Great Omegaverse. If you're not familiar with what Omegaverse is, I actually think this is a good novella because it explains the dynamics really well. So I ended up giving it 4 stars, which is no surprise because I do really like Gillian West and her books. Those are the 2 novellas that I read recently, and I will see you guys in my next clip. As always, ignore any mess in the background because I am pre-filming. So it is a mess in my room. I really like this lipstick. The color is CB96 from MAC Cosmetics. It is one of their Frost lipsticks. I know they're revamping like a lot of their formulas and colors, so I hope they still have this, but it is really pretty. I'm getting ready for a live show right now. That's why I'm like touching up my makeup. Just a little shimmer. The eyeshadow I'm wearing is from Adriana Nicole Cosmetics. It is their shade Goddess. Anyways, had to do a little touch up, but I'm here to talk about some novellas that I read recently. The next 2 novellas that I read were a little bit different because they were set during the fall and winter time, but they're not Halloween themed. I thought I would mix it up a little bit. I have one that was set during Christmas and one that was set during Thanksgiving, and I really ended up loving both of them, so I'm very, very excited to talk about them. The first one is Sunday's Child by Grace Draven, and I gave it 5 stars. It's been a while since we got a 5-star read in this video, so I'm very excited. This is the same author that wrote Radiance, which I also gave 5 stars, so I guess I just really like her writing style. I do need to read more by her. This is a fantasy / paranormal romance. Our hero is from the land of the Fae, but in the beginning of the book you see that he is being put in exile because of some mistakes that he made. Got a little too handsy with one of the king's favorite mistresses, so he ends up getting banned from his kingdom for like a long time. I don't know, 1,000 years, who knows how long his exile is, and he is sent to work for none other than Saint Nicholas. Santa Claus, okay? He is quite literally an elf helping Santa Claus. Throughout his years, he has grown to really love the human world and humans in general. He ends up meeting our heroine when she is younger. He is delivering gifts, and it turns out that she is what is known as a Sunday's Child, meaning she has the ability to see true magic. Nobody in like decades has ever been able to see him in his true form, but she does. When they meet, she's very young, and it's also very dangerous for a human to discover the magical world, so he ends up leaving and just always like thinking about her. Years and years end up passing and they meet each other. Our hero has picked up like odd jobs here and there, and our heroine archives like different historical items, so they end up meeting on a specific job. Our heroine is a single mom. Her son is on the spectrum, and she's really struggled to create connections because not a lot of people understand her and her son, but our hero does, and he is absolutely smitten for our heroine and her son, and it is so sweet. It's incredibly romantic. It gave soulmate energy, and I don't want to ruin the ending, but the ending was just so, oh my god, it was so freaking romantic. I had to give this 5 stars. It was so fucking romantic, and for a novella, it was incredibly fleshed out. Perfect novella. I loved it. So happy I read that one. And then the next one that I read takes place during Thanksgiving. It's called A Perfect Stuffing by Daniel Allen. This is a part of her Hot Holiday Hookups. It basically is a series of novellas that follows a character who is interviewing like different people who have fallen in love on a specific holiday. It follows like all types of holidays. Like there is a Halloween one. There's one that takes place during Groundhog's Day, Juneteenth, St. Patrick's Day, Father's Day. I think it takes place during like every holiday, to be honest, but this one is during Thanksgiving. Heroine has an annual tradition where she has a Friendsgiving with her 2 college best friends. Every year they fly in to meet each other and have a girls' weekend for Friendsgiving, eating good food, being very grateful for one another. Heroine has gone through a little bit of a dry spell. She has not found a man that is worth her time. Right before the Friendsgiving, she is making a grocery run and she ends up quite literally bumping into our hero, and they have such an electric chemistry, but she has to rush away to go to dinner. She gets there, she realizes that her friends had actually invited more people, and one of those people is our hero. So they end up seeing each other again, and they quite literally cannot keep their hands off each other. They cannot. I'm laughing because there's a scene in here where they're obsessed with each other, and it's quite funny to see the means they will go to get a little bit of alone time. I'm just gonna say that. Very, very steamy. Not like a super strong emotional connection. It really was more like smut, but I'm with it. I'm down with it. I like Danielle Ellen a lot. I've read a lot of her full-length novels and some of her novellas. I typically enjoy it. I have had the pleasure of meeting her in person, and she is such a lovely, lovely, lovely human being. So yeah, I gave this one 3.5 stars. I really did enjoy it, and that's my update for today. I don't know what accent that was, I'm so sorry. But 2 novellas that I really liked. We're on a good streak. Hopefully we can keep this momentum going, and I will see you in my next clip to update you on whatever I'm reading next. We have officially reached the point in this challenge where I'm regretting doing a 30-day challenge. Something is wrong with my camera, by the way. I don't know what that black dot is, but we're just gonna ignore it. I think it's my lens being dirty, but I'm too lazy to clean it. 30 days of reading and updating you guys is a lot, especially on days like today where I have absolutely no brain cells are functioning. Everything's misfiring up there, okay? What a day I had at work. I read a novella though. So I read Trick or Beast by Sarah Spade. Sarah Spade has another Halloween novella that I read a while ago. It's called Halloween Boo, and that is a romance between a human who moves into a new apartment and has some very interesting interactions with what she thinks is a ghost. Literally Casper the Friendly Ghost, but like make it smutty. So that one is fun. So I ended up picking up this one because why not? It's called Trick or Beast. It's the first book of the Beasts of Blackmore series. Are there other books in this series? Let me see. Oh, there is. There's a Christmas Eve one. Christmas Eve with Krampus. Interesting. This is pure smut. Even in the author's note, she says it. She's like, this is just a good, sexy monster smut book, which is valid, and I love that. You know, sometimes you just need different things for different reasons. Yeah, there's really no like emotional connection or plot. It is just monster smut. Sometimes I like when a novella does not take itself too seriously, the author's not taking it too seriously, the reader's not taking it too seriously. Every once in a while, a book like this will kind of get on the wrong side of the internet, and people are like, oh, romance is just women's porn, and like readers aren't actually reading intellectually. And it's like, guys, you are taking things entirely too serious. Sometimes it's just for the vibes. For the vibes. And this is a for the vibes book. It follows our heroine who essentially enters into a competition to try and survive a couple of nights during Halloween in this forest. She survives. She's able to make a wish, and whatever she wishes for comes true, but she has to survive these alleged like monsters in the forest. Very much Little Red Riding Hood-esque, because our heroine has red hair. She's going to the forest. She ends up meeting some sexy werewolves. So it was good. I gave it 3 stars. I could definitely see this not being for everyone, but like if you're not taking things too seriously and you just want a good, fun, sexy time that's like Halloween themed, then sure, pick this up. It delivered exactly what I expected it to deliver, and 3 stars. A 3-star rating is still really good for me. A lot of people don't like this, but a 3-star rating is good for me, and I will always say that, okay? 4 and 5 stars are like books that are my all-time favorites. I think about all the time. They make me super emotional, or I felt something really specific when I was reading it. A 3-star rating is like, I had a fun time. Absolutely great reading experience. I could see myself recommending this book for people who are looking for this specific thing or trope, but like it's not my all-time favorite thing ever, okay? Because I have had 5-star novellas that are all-time favorites, like Divine River by Marina Vivancos. Anyways, I love you guys so much. That's my update. I will talk to you tomorrow. Hi, hello, hi, hello, hello, hi, hola, greetings and salutations. Hi, hello. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me yap. Okay, snack time is over. It's done with. Time to update you guys. I read 2 novellas on Kindle Limited and both of them were male Omegaverses. I've just been in an Omegaverse mood, so I decided to pick up 2. Right, I will talk about the one that I actually liked more, and that was Omega Moon by Laura Lee M. Hart. This is the first book in the Crimson Cliff Pack series. I ended up picking up this one because I have read from this author before. I read another Omegaverse by her called Sweater Weather. That one was really sweet. It follows our hero who is an Omega, and he inherited this bed and breakfast from his grandmother, and he is opening it during the Christmas time. However, there is a huge storm happening, so a lot of the rooms are getting booked very fast. Our hero, who is an alpha, was supposed to leave that day, but his plane got canceled. He can't find a room, so he ends up stumbling in this bed and breakfast and helping our hero run it as well. And it's just really sweet and cute, and I loved it. It's like one of my favorite Omegaverses. So I picked up this one, Omega Moon. This one is another male Omegaverse, and it was okay. I gave it 3 stars. It basically follows our hero, who is the alpha of his pack, and he has a lot of pressure to find an Omega during the Omega Moon, which is a very sacred ritual for his people. His father has made it very clear that he will not be alpha of the pack if he cannot find a mate. Hero hasn't had the best luck with romance. In fact, he's quite jaded. He doesn't really want to find a mate, but he does want to be the leader of his pack. So during the Omega Moon, his wolf is feeling very restless and ends up taking him to a bar where he meets our other hero, and the 2 of them have a very intense connection. Ollie works at a bar and he thinks that he's human, but he has always been warned by his grandmother to not go out during the Omega Moon. His grandmother is really paranoid, but has never explained to him why. He doesn't listen to his grandmother's warnings, goes out, and ends up meeting his fated mate. This one is a very short, quick, steamy shifter Omegaverse with Mpreg. I gave this one 3 stars because in comparison to the other novella that I've read by her, I just liked that one so much more. And also, when I'm reading an Omegaverse, there's like certain tropes that I tend to expect, like heats and nodding, and I didn't really get that with this novella. So it was just, you know, middle of the road. It was fun to read, very quick to read as well. I overall had a good time with it. There wasn't anything wrong with it, but I've just read better Omegaverses in the past. I do like this author, although she is hit and miss for me. She has like a ton of books, like so many books, and some of them are really good, and then some of them are just like, okay. Next up, oh, I hated this next book. I did not like it. And it is The Emerald Dragon's Moonlight Mate by Jenna Wade. It's the first book in the Nesting Ever After series. It is a male Omegaverse romance between a dragon shifter and a werewolf shifter. They have grown up in the same pack their entire life. They're best friends, so it is a friends to lovers romance. Our hero, who is a dragon shifter, was adopted, and he did not know his birth parents or that he had siblings or what kind of shifter that he was. On the eve of his 25th birthday, he ends up shifting into a dragon. He shifts, a lot of things happen. He realizes that he has siblings he never knew about. Him and his family were a part of like some ancient prophecy that he now needs to go learn more about. And then he also is realizing that his best friend, our other hero, is his fated mate. The 2 of them end up going on a road trip to find answers to this prophecy and their past, and it follows their romance. The premise of it sounds great, right? It sounded great. It was actually quite terrible. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Something about the writing style felt very bizarre. It almost felt unfinished in a way. There were typos and spelling errors and weird gaps. And I'm not talking about like time gaps. Like, I read this on my Kindle and even switched to my phone and my iPad because I was so confused about the layout. There were actual like space gaps, just blank, no words, just random huge gaps between like each paragraph. I don't know if that was to like bump up the page count on Kindle Unlimited or what, but it was the most bizarre reading experience. I've said it before, I normally don't care about authors' writing style or prose or things like that, especially when it comes to novellas, but like this was genuinely bad. I'm not trying to be mean, but it just felt like unpublished. Like this was the first draft that never went through editing, because again, there were spelling errors and just like random typos. And then also, I have read a lot of crazy bonkers shit. Okay, I am here for the crazy bonkers shit, but I don't want to do any spoilers, goddamn. No, I'm gonna tell you guys because it was fucking weird. I'm familiar with Mpreg. It is a thing in Omegaverse where males can get pregnant, and like it's a very popular trope within Omegaverse. This book had Mpreg in it, but because he was a dragon, the hero gave birth to literal eggs. Eggs. And the description of it was fucking weird. I don't know. The concept and the synopsis sounded really nice, but I just think the execution wasn't that great. I feel so bad because like a dragon shifter romance, I want to love that. And there's other books in the series that I was like totally planning on reading, but I can't. I simply cannot. Read 2 Omegaverses. I gave 1 3 stars, 1 2 stars. That's my update. We will see what I read in my next clip. I'll talk to you guys in a second. Greetings and salutations. I'm here with another update. I decided to pick up a paranormal romance novella. Right off the bat, I really liked this one. I ended up giving it 4 stars, which I was pleasantly surprised about because I have read a novella by this author before and I didn't really like it. I can't remember what the name is. Let me look it up on Goodreads. Titan. That one is a age gap gargoyle monster romance and I just didn't love it. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I don't know. I did want to give the author another chance. I know a lot of my friends love this novella. It's been on my TBR for a really long time. It is a enemies to lovers paranormal romance between a witch and a vampire. Our 2 characters end up meeting each other at a party, which leads into them having a one-night stand. It's steamy, it's hot, they have a great time with one another, but then they discover that they're actually business rivals. Both of them are owners of different bars that are competing against each other, but despite the 2 of them being business rivals, they literally cannot keep their hands off of each other. This one was a really fun pairing because our heroine was just so hilarious and sassy. I would say this is like a grumpy trope. Okay, we have a grumpy hero and a grumpy heroine, but the 2 of them paired together is just so much fun. Loved the banter between the characters. The sexy times were very sexy. I'm always looking for new vampire romances and this one was a good one, so I gave it 4 stars. It was hot, it was sexy, it was fun. That's all there was to it, so I guess this is one of the quicker updates. I really did enjoy this one and I will chat with you guys in my next clip. Oh my goodness, I just woke up from like a 4-hour nap, which I don't even know if that could be considered a nap at that point anymore, but wow. That's why I look a little crazy right now. My eyes are kind of swollen because your girl's been crying. It's been a month, let me tell you that. I wasn't even crying because of any of the books that I read. It's just been a month, let me tell you. Now, it's really funny that I'm filming this video of reading a novella every day for an entire month, 30 novellas. Such a fun project, absolutely love doing it, and I'm reading some amazing books. But I'm doing this in a month where I just feel off and sad. Really sad. And anytime someone asks me, what's wrong? Are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. And then today my older sister was like, but you're not though. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm not. The reason I'm saying that is because literally the only thing keeping me out of my bed and from crying and just from sleeping the day away is filming this video and obviously going to work because the world keeps spinning even if you have a mental breakdown. I've always said that I'm someone who cannot fake the funk, and doing a video where I'm almost filming every single day for an entire month, I feel like you guys can definitely see that. I just have to say to myself, just because I'm feeling it right now doesn't mean I'm feeling it forever, and it's okay to find happiness in little things like filming these videos or reading a romance novella. I don't know where I was going with that other than if you are feeling it, I'm feeling it too. I'm feeling it with you. You're not alone. And also, thank you for watching a video like this and spending some time with me, whether I'm wearing makeup and have nice lighting or I'm laying in my bed going through it. So thank you. I love you and I'm so happy to have you here. Anyways, that was just my little mental pep talk for the month. And let's talk about the books that we read. I actually reread 2 books. Kind of going back to when I'm not feeling good, I lean heavy on comfort reads, which means I like to reread books. And I wasn't planning on rereading any books in this video. I wanted to pick all brand new books, but I couldn't help myself. I read those 2 Omegaverses that I wasn't like entirely happy with, and I just wanted to read good Omegaverse. Ended up rereading 2 Omegaverses for my favorite author of all time, and that is Marina Vavankos. I've talked about her in this video before and on my channel many times. I do have a video on my channel where I actually read her entire backlist and talked about all of her books, ranked them, talked about the tropes, and I will go ahead and leave that down below if you want to check it out. She is probably my favorite author of all time. I don't even want to say top 5 or top 3. I think she is it. Predominantly writes queer love stories on Kindle Limited. Her books are sweepingly romantic, but they're also deeply emotional and typically have amazing mental health representation in them. They also have great queer representation in them. She's just beautiful. Like, her writing is stunning and lyrical and almost therapeutic in a way, which is why I always find myself recommending her and rereading her books. She does have a good range. She has contemporary romances, sports romances, Omegaverses. She also has some paranormal romances, just a little bit of everything. Her books also range in page length. She has some fuller length novels, and then she has novellas that are kind of steamy and cute and quick reads. And obviously I gave them 5 stars because I love her. She's amazing. These ones are also a little fluffier and steamier than some of her full-length novels, so just keep that in mind if you're reading her novellas. I will say her full-length novels are a little bit more emotional. Anyways, that was a rant and a half. Let's talk about the 2 books I reread. So I ended up rereading Rough Heat by Marina Vivancos. This is a standalone Omegaverse. This one was 144 pages, and I think this was one of her first books that she had released, and then she had taken it down and re-released it, if that makes sense. So there's like subtle changes to the writing and the plot. It is a poly romance between 3 heroes, 2 alphas and 1 omega. Our main hero, Leo, is a sex worker. He is an alpha for hire. He essentially helps omegas through their heats and sometimes alphas through their ruts. He's done it for a really long time, and at first he really liked it, but now he's kind of like disassociated from it until he ends up getting paired with a bonded couple. Our other heroes, Josh and Damon. Josh is an omega and Damon is an alpha. They are a mated pair. End up hiring Leo because Josh has a medical condition where his heats are very, very intense. Not only are they super intense, but they also happen frequently. And Damon are super in love, absolutely obsessed with each other, but they definitely need help to assist Josh during his heats, so they end up hiring Leo to have an extra alpha. It starts off by being strictly transactional, and of course real feelings get involved. It is surprisingly sweet for how sexy it is, but it's such a perfect Omegaverse. Marina Vivancos does Omegaverse so well. She has a couple of Omegaverses. She has a historical Omegaverse, she has a hockey Omegaverse, she has this one, Rough Heat, which is a poly Omegaverse, and then she also has her Dom sub universe, which is very similar to Omegaverse. This is a trope and a niche that she does so well. A lot of people always ask, like, where should they start when it comes to Omegaverses, and Marina does a really good job. And then the next one I reread was Broken Ice, and this is a part of her Alpha Omega hockey series. It is a contemporary sports romance series with an Omegaverse trope. This is the 4th book in the series, but can be read as a standalone because it actually takes place many years after the first 3 books. Oh no, this might be my favorite one in the series. I don't know. I love all of them so much, but I've actually already reread this book. In fact, I've actually reread this 3 times. I think this is my 3rd time. This is another male-male romance. It follows Bo and Emilio. They're both professional hockey players. Bo is a omega and obviously has had some difficulties playing hockey because it is an alpha-dominated sport. His last team did not treat him that well and definitely judged him for his designation and for being an omega. So when he gets traded to a new team, he is very, very nervous because there is a player on the team, Emilio, our hero, who he thinks doesn't like him very much. It definitely is a little bit of a misunderstanding, and they end up getting closer because Bo also has a medical condition where his heats are very intense. He has them very often, and he really needs a compatible alpha to help him through it. Guess who is a wonderful compatible alpha for him? Emilio. So the 2 of them kind of have a friends with benefits situation as Emilio was helping him through his heats. Follows the romance. It is a grumpy sunshine opposites attract trope. Our hero Bo is such a brat. He's such a brat, and I fucking love him. He's hilarious. This is probably the funniest book that Marina Vivancos has ever written. I always laugh and smile whenever I read this book. It makes me so happy. I could see myself rereading it even more times. All right, that is my update. Sorry that I reread 2 books instead of reading new ones, but you know what? These 2 are good and I don't regret it, and you guys should read Marina Vivancos anyways. So it wouldn't be a novella video if I wasn't talking about my favorite author. I will see you in my next clip to talk about the other novellas that we've read, although we only have a couple left. I think I have like maybe 3 left, 3 days left. Greetings and salutations, greetings and salutations. Have I said that at all in this video? That's like my normal greeting, and I don't think I've said it at all because I was trying not to repeat each greeting in every clip. Anyways, who cares? I'm going to do my skincare while I chat with you guys about the novella that I read. We are on day 28, so we only have 2 more novellas after this. We are near the finish line, y'all, and I've had such a great time doing this with you. Skincare, I'm gonna use the Ordinary Milky Toner. Put that on my face. Another toner, but this one's more hydrating. I don't know. It was not enough. Never enough. Never enough. Never, never, never enough. For me. For me. Okay, now you guys can tell that I'm reaching the point of delirium in this video. This does not have a label, but it's that like snail thing that's really popular. I have a backup. I don't even know why I'm not telling you the name properly. What is the name? Advanced Snail Mucin from CosRx. If it was daytime, I would use this calming moisturizer, but it's nighttime, so I'm gonna slather myself with some oil. Let me go get the oil. This is the combo. I found this on TikTok. So we have castor oil and Vanny cream. I've been using Vanny cream for years. I love it, but she's thick. So it gets cut with a drop or many drops of the oil, and it's very hydrating, but you look like an absolute grease ball. And then I just slather that on my face. The reason it was in the bathroom is because normally after I take my bath, I always take a bath before bed, like a good bubble bath, just relax me, zen me out. I will slather my entire body, literally my entire body, like all the way down my neck, my chest, my legs, my feet, my hands, just like my whole body is covered in this oil, and I am a greasy girl. I have oily skin, okay? And whoever told you that you can't use oil when you have oily skin is a liar. The devil is a liar. Oily skin means your skin is overcompensating oil. So you fight oil with oil. It's science. Let's talk about the book we read. I read a sapphic vampire book, which you guys already know I loved, okay? I'm obsessed with vampires. I've been obsessed with vampires. You guys know this. Ever since I read Dracula, I have been deeply invested in vampiric lore. I even got a little bat tattoo on my arm because of it. It's kind of my thing. And the only thing I love more than vampire books is sapphic books. So when you put them together, we love. I actually read this because, let me pull up the Instagram post that I saw it on. Amanda from Talk About Swoon over on Instagram, I'll leave her Instagram linked down below, did an amazing post that was centered around diversifying your Halloween and fall romance picks. So many great recommendations. It was really celebrating just diversity in general. So it was focused on books by BIPOC authors, queer authors, books that had diversity and mental health representation. It was just an amazing post. I recommend you checking it out because there were so many books that I added to my TBR, but I was obviously focused on finding novellas. So I ended up picking Bite Me Twice by J.S. Jasper. This is a sapphic vampire novella. This was on Kindle Limited, less than 100 pages. It was written by a Black author, and our main female character was also Black, and I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. It was great. It was sexy. It was cute. Basically, it follows our main heroine, who is a vampire, a century-old vampire. In the beginning of the book, you can see that she's not exactly like sworn off love, but she doesn't really believe in falling in love when the people that she loves could eventually die. Ends up meeting our other heroine because our other heroine was getting mugged, and she kind of like steps in to defend her. But our other heroine definitely did not need defending and could stand her own. End up bumping into each other again because one of our heroines owns a bake shop, and when they go into the bake shop, they reconnect and have a very steamy, sexy time together. This one was heavy on the insta love, insta lust, which I didn't really mind because it is a novella that is to be expected, but I just think it was really fun. Another good sapphic book to recommend. Just a quick reminder, I'm filming this in September, posting this in October, and it is currently Sapphic September. A lot of people are making some awesome posts and doing amazing recommendations talking about sapphic romances, which already do not get enough love as it is. But I would just like to say you should be reading sapphic and queer all year long, not just because of a trend or a hashtag. That's all I wanted to say. I did end up doing another reread. Guys, I'm telling you, whenever I'm in a funk, I always like to reread books. It's just like a comfort thing to me. I ended up picking up this one, and it is novella length. It's actually a graphic novel, and it's Fangs by Sarah Anderson. It is 100 pages, but like I said, it is a graphic novel, so you can run through it so quickly. The reason I had picked this up is because I did love that sapphic vampire book so much, and I was just in a vampire mood. So this is a romance between a vampire and a werewolf. Graphics are absolutely adorable. So cute. such a fun read. So yeah, if you are looking for a novella that is a graphic novel, something a little bit different, I love Fangs by Sarah Anderson. So that's kind of a bonus recommendation. I don't know if I'm going to include this in my count of 30 novellas because we've done a couple rereads and I don't know if that's cheating. But anyways, I still wanted to talk about it, still wanted to recommend it, and I will chat with you guys tomorrow for my last 2 books. I just got off of work and I was about to hop in the shower, change my clothes, all that jazz, and then I remembered I needed to update you guys. My makeup melting off my face, I'm hot, I'm flustered, I'm all the things, but we are here for the final update. Well, not the final update, but I'm going to talk about the last 3 books that I read. I ended up reading 2 more books to round out all 30 days. And I had 1 more novella at the end that I ended up rereading. I'm going to wrap up the last 3 books that I read recently. And then in the next clip, that will be my final update. Give you guys the stats, my overall ratings, my favorites, my least favorites, all the tea. We'll wrap all of that neatly in a bow in the next clip. So let's talk about what we read. Okay, first I read Hell of a Bargain by B.P. Gilmore, and this I found off of that Instagram post I was talking about in my last clip. Anyways, I picked this one. It is written by a Black author and our main heroine is also Black. It follows a romance between a witch and a demon. This is a perfect fall Halloween novella because it does take place during Halloween. Our heroine is a witch and decides to do a little ritual, little blood sacrifice, if you will. She's trying to do a sacrifice to the goddess Medusa. Our hero ends up intercepting the sacrifice. He is the demon Leviathan, otherwise known as Levi in this book, and he is absolutely enamored by our heroine, okay? The two of them, instant chemistry. Despite the ritual not going as planned, they can't resist each other, and it was so fun, so steamy. I loved a lot of things about this novella. I loved her heroine. She was so sassy, so fun to read about. She's also a plus size heroine, so it has that representation as well. The title of the book had a little tagline. It's called Hell of a Bargain, a cozy autumn tale of a curvy witch and her demon. And I feel like it was exactly that. It delivered exactly what I expected it to deliver, and I think it was a 5-star. No, not I think. I know it was a 5-star. I don't know why I'm being so picky on giving 5 stars in this video because I loved this book from beginning to end, and it is pretty underrated. I was looking on Goodreads. It only has 6 ratings and 3 reviews, which is crazy. I don't know if this is a new novella. Oh, it is. It was just released September 30th, 2024. Today! Oh my god, the day that I read it. How funny. I did not know that. I read a novella literally released today and I loved it, so I'm happy to recommend it. 5 stars. Such a great addition to your fall TBR, and I'm happy we were able to slide in another 5-star at the end of the video. Next one I read is by one of my favorite authors, and that is C.M. Niscosta. I love her so much. I have read the majority of her backlist. She writes monster paranormal romances that are so unique and fun and steamy, but also perfectly balanced of being emotional and romantic. A lot of her fuller length novels have amazing mental health representation, body positivity representation. She just is that girl, okay? I love her. And she does write one of my favorite novellas. It's called Run Run Rabbit. That is a dark enemies to lovers werewolf shifter romance. I love this novella. It follows our 2 characters who both work for the same law firm. They are cutthroat lawyers, and it's forbidden for them to be together because our hero is technically partner at the law firm, but they cannot keep their hands off of each other. They're both kind of like alpha energy. They're both assholes. Like, they love to mess with each other, play games, and just do messy things, okay? And I love that book so much. It's one of her darker books in the Cambric Creek series. So if you are looking for a fun, dark, enemies to lovers, werewolf shifter romance, love that book. But what we read in this video was Shadows and Light, which is a part of her Cambric Creek After Darkverse series. Like I said, this is one of her darker romances. It is a werewolf shifter romance. It follows our heroine Jude, who is a werewolf who has never shifted, so she's definitely on the outcast of her pack and society. Her father owes quite a bit of debt and ends up selling her to pay off his debt, and her fiance is not great and ends up leaving and abandoning her in the middle of her heat when he realizes that she is a werewolf who can't shift. And her fiance's bodyguard is kind of lurking in the shadows in the distance, and they have some fun steamy times. This is different again from her other books. It's not really a happy ever after or a happy for now. It's somewhere in between, if you will. So yeah, I really liked it. I like the darker side of her writing. I gave it 4 stars, but if you are familiar with her other books and you like the more cozier aspects of this book, this probably won't be a novella that you love. but I did. I liked it a lot. I gave it 4 stars. So technically that was our 30th novella. I read both today because I took a break yesterday, and then I was still feeling in a novella mood today, so I ended up picking up a 3rd book, and it was a reread, and it's my favorite novella of all time. It is Divine River by Marina Vivancos. Talked about her in this video already and on my channel endlessly, and when I think of a perfect novella, I always think of Divine River. Okay, this is probably my all-time favorite book ever. I have so many books that I love, but this one just resonates with me so deeply, and there's something about the writing style and the characters and just the nuance of Marina Vivancos that I love. I love. So Divine River is a small town male-male romance. It follows our characters Mike and Jason, but it really focuses on Mike. He has grown up in a small town in a family that is not that accepting. So his entire life he has known that he was gay, and he didn't really know how to express that. But as he is getting older, he is realizing that he really likes to be both masculine and feminine, and he's at a point in his life where he is just discovering who he is as a person and being his true authentic self. In the middle of all of that, he gets a new neighbor. Jason ends up moving right across from him, and they become instant friends. This is a friends lovers romance, and it is such a beautiful story because you are seeing Mike fall in love with himself as he is simultaneously falling in love with his best friend. It's gorgeous, it's stunning, it's emotional. This book makes me sob every time I read it, but it feels very therapeutic to read it. Just like the description of like the queer experience and like learning to love yourself and being your true self. I'll fucking cry right now. It's amazing. I think this is probably, I'm not even being dramatic, the 10th time that I've reread this. I reread it constantly. Sometimes I'll read it from start to finish. Sometimes I'll read the ending. Sometimes I'll read certain passages that I have highlighted on my Kindle. I fucking love this book. I recommend it endlessly, and I thought it was a fun way to kind of end this video because I really want you guys to know, like, this is the standard when it comes to novellas for me, and why I didn't give too many novellas 5 stars, because I really am comparing it to like the best of the best. I'm gonna count this in our daily reads though because I reread it so many times. I'm so familiar with it. I am going to go to bed now though because I'm super tired. So tomorrow, but the next clip for you guys, I will pop in and round everything up, talk about my favorites, talk about the stats, and then it will be the end of this very long video. Hi everyone, good morning. It is pretty early in the morning. I just took a shower and did my skincare, and I'm about to get ready for work. Working from home today though, so that's nice. You have some time to update you guys, and I'm going to wrap up our 30 days of novellas. Okay, we started this month with a goal of reading a novella every single day for an entire month, and I wanted it to be Halloween, fall, paranormal themed, and I would say we succeeded. I read novellas by new authors, some of my favorite authors, and then of course I also did some rereads. In total, I believe we read about 34 novellas, including all of the rereads. I read all of this in the month of September, so I can post it in October. Of the 34 books, 4 of them were rereads, and then the rest were brand new novellas to me. The last 2 rereads I wasn't really counting in my stats though because they were just for fun and I was just casually reading those. So that was Divine River by Marina Vivancos and Fangs, which was the vampire graphic novel. Those are not included in my stats, but everything else is. So let's go ahead and go over the stats. Overall, I would say it was a successful reading month. I had a lot of 4 stars and a lot of 5 stars. In the 30 books that I read, I had 1 1 star, 4 2 stars, which is kind of a lot, but anyways, I had 9 3 stars, 9 4 stars, and 7 5 stars. Hopefully that math is mathing, but the average of the novellas that we read were 3.5 or 4 stars, which is awesome. As far as genres go, we read 3 different types of genres. I read 5 cozy mysteries, 2 horror books, and 23 romances. Of course, romances are going to be the highest number on this list, but I am happy that I was able to find some cozy mysteries and horrors to throw in there as well. I like to mix up genres. I like to read different things. I will say it is easier for me personally to find romance novellas like on Kindle Unlimited or on audio, so I think also that is why the number was higher. All right, let's go ahead and quickly talk about the standouts and the disappointments. We will start on a high note and talk about the standouts. We had 7 5 stars in total, and 2 of them were rereads, which was Rough Heat by Marina Vivancos and Broken Ice by Marina Vivancos. She's my favorite novella author Obviously, I reread her books for a reason. Both of those were male-male Omegaverse romances, so if you are looking for a good Omegaverse to try, highly recommend those two, but it was no surprise that those were 5 stars. Another one that wasn't a surprise was Boo Thing by Risley Adams. Risley Adams is another one of my favorite novella authors ever. I generally like every single novella that I've ever read by her. Boo Thing was a fun novella set during Halloween time, and it was a best friend's brother trope with an age gap where we had an older heroine, which is one of my favorite tropes. I would say if I were to recommend any book in this video, it definitely would be this one because it was so perfect for Halloween. It was quite literally set in Halloween. I loved our hero. I loved our heroine. It was sexy. It was sweet. It was emotional. It was just like everything that I am looking for in a novella. This had. I really do think it was a perfect novella, and I recommend anything by Risley Adams. I ended up liking this book so much that we're going to pick it for a buddy pick for an upcoming novella readathon that I am going to be doing with some of my dear friends. We started the Novellathon, I would say a year ago maybe. The readathon that I host with some of my sweet, sweet friends, and we just read a bunch of novellas. I host it with Tiffany from Tiff Talks Pages, Avery from Ava's Romance Books, and Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings. So we will have a Halloween themed one coming up. I will have the details for that towards the end of the video, but this is going to be our buddy pick because I loved it so much. I just wanted everyone to read it. Another one that I really ended up liking was 5-Star Review by Marie Renard. This was a male-male friends to lovers shifter romance. It was so cute. Friends to lovers will always be one of my favorite tropes. There's something so incredibly romantic about two characters already having an existing friendship and comfortability with each other, and then you just add like sexy times on top of that. Top tier. Loved this one. It was another one that balanced being sexy and sweet, and highly recommend. Sunday's Child by Grace Draven was also really good. One of those perfect novellas that did everything that I wanted it to do. It was a fun paranormal romance set around Christmas time. Definitely gives like Fated Mates energy. This one was incredibly sweet, incredibly romantic. I would probably say the most romantic out of all of the novellas that we read. 3 that were kind of surprises to me because they were by new authors were Anyone and You by Jack Whitney, and it was the perfect fall romance book. Our two characters are neighbors, and they accidentally get set up on a blind date by their friends who don't know their neighbors. They decide to go with it anyways, and they have a fun time at a pumpkin patch. Super cute. Another one by a new author was Bite Me Twice by J.S. Jasper. This was a sapphic vampire book that I thoroughly enjoyed. And then lastly, we had Hell of a Bargain by B.P. Gilmore. This was a 5-star novella read, and it actually just released this month. So again, I'm happy we were able to squeeze it into the end of the video. So those were the main standouts of all of the books that I read in this video. My strongest 5 stars and 4 stars. A subtle shout out though to the horror books that we read by T. King Fixture, which was What Moves in the Dead and What Feasts at Night. That was actually a very enjoyable read despite horror books not being my preferred genre. I loved the writing style. I loved the gothic undertone. It was very engaging to read, and I can definitely see myself reading more from this author. Same thing goes for the Cozy Mysteries that we read by Daniel Garrett. Our Touch of Magic mystery series, our heroine was a wedding planner for the supernatural, and I just really loved reading about her. I loved the side characters. I loved the subtle romance. The mystery aspect was really cool too, and again, I could totally see myself reading more from Daniel Garrett. Now, the books that we hated. Oh gosh, the letdowns of the month. We had a couple. We did have a couple. So first up, the worst book we read in the entire month was Halloween Party Murder by Leanne Dobbs. This was a cozy mystery that was genuinely so terrible. The mystery was poorly crafted. The writing style sucked. The characters were super judgmental and insufferable to read about. I would not recommend this to my worst enemy. I know that sounds dramatic, but that's how I feel. Never ever would I read from this author again, and I'm quite disappointed that I made it into the video. The other one that was pretty disappointing was The Emerald Dragon's Moonlight Mate by Jenna Wade. I was only disappointed in this because a dragon shifter Omegaverse sounds really, really fun, but the book itself just felt very unfinished. Too many spelling errors and typos and weird space gaps between the paragraphs. I just think that this really could have done with 1 more round or like 5 more rounds of editing, and maybe it would have been good because the premise was really fun. The execution was just terrible. 2 books that I gave 2 stars, and I wouldn't say these were like the worst novellas I've ever read, and there wasn't inherently anything problematic about them, but it just didn't hit the way that I wanted to. I'm okay with reading novellas that are pure smut, but these kind of just seemed a little cringe for me personally, and that was Chicken is a Treat by Brianne Denée and Little Sip of Sin by Cleo Evans. I just didn't really like them. I do like Cleo Evans. I wanted to make that clear. I've liked a lot of her other books and I will read from her in the future, but I just think this series is a no for me. Again, I just don't like the tropes. I don't like the setting, and the sex scenes are kind of not doing it for me. So those were also disappointments, unfortunately. Oh my gosh, we are at the end of this video. We did it. What a long video, but what a fun project to do. I don't know if anyone is still here. If you are still here, I love you. If you watched this whole video, you are such a real one. In fact, leave me an emoji. Leave me the ghost emoji, a little spooky ooky emoji for all of the paranormal and ghostly books we read in this video, to just let me know that you're still here and that we're bookish besties and that you enjoyed the video. I really appreciate you guys. I had a lot of fun doing this project. It got me through a very difficult month where I was not feeling my best, and it gave me something to look forward to. It gave me something to positively put my energy towards, and I don't think you guys will ever understand how special that is to me and how much I appreciate you. The videos may come off as silly, goofy, and fun, but you guys mean a lot to me, and this community means a lot to me, and I adore you. I adore you so much. But anyways, we're going to wrap everything up. I will add this to my novella playlist that I already have on my channel. I've done plenty of videos recommending my favorite novellas. I've done challenges like this before where I read a novella every single day for a month or every single day for a week. So if you want to catch up on all my novella themed videos, there will be a playlist down below. And we are having a readathon coming up very soon. So we are bringing back the Novellathon. It is a readathon that we have been doing seasonally, me and my friends Tiffany, Avery, and Rachel. We absolutely love this readathon because it feels like a slumber party with you guys and with us as well when we do our live shows. We're just having fun reading novellas. We don't take anything too seriously. It's all about the vibes. And yeah, so the Novellathon is back for its annual spooky edition, and we are hosting it from October 14th to October 20th. Our buddy read is Boo Thing by Risley Adams. We have live shows and reading sprints and fun prompts and graphics that my dear friend Tiffany made. So all of the information will be on our socials as well. And you guys have plenty of recommendations to add to your TBR in this video. That is it. That is all my information. I will link the girls' channel down below if you want to join us for the readathon. But thank you for being here for this video. That is it. So much information, such a long video, but we had fun. Or hopefully you had fun. I had fun. We had fun. I don't know. As always, thank you for taking time out of your day to spend with me. It means the absolute world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!